everyone. Welcome to today's webinar, Maximizing Workforce Capacity, Proven Practices for Saving Time, Money, and Effort. I'm Teresa Resick, and I'm Vice President of Market Intelligence here at AIIM, and AIIM is your host and producer of today's event. And joining me are Kevin Crane from AIIM and also Tyler Suss from Kofax. And Kofax is the underwriter of today's webinar, and we thank them for their support. And thank you very much for taking the time to join us today. And as we get started, I just want to offer a few tips for participating in today's webinar. By joining our event live, you can resize the windows you have in front of you. I encourage you, in the links across the bottom, in those little icons, open up the group chat. That way you can message with each other and also with a few of us here at AIIM. And I invite you to go in and just say hello and share where you're joining us from today. It's nice to know who's out there. Please take advantage of the resources and the links that we have in that area that's to the right of the slides. Do ask questions of the speakers using the Q&A feature, and we'll do our best to get to as many of them as we can later in the webcast. Also, in those icons across the bottom, there is a link there for a feedback survey, and I truly value your opinions and what you have to say about our talk today. So appreciate it if you would take that survey later on after the webinar, and it will open again when the event closes, when we're done. But just really do like hearing your feedback. And this webinar is being recorded, and it will be posted to AIIM.org's Resources Webinars page in just a few days. And now to introduce the speakers we have with us. Kevin Crane is a professional writer, technology analyst, and award-winning podcast producer. And as AIIM's content strategist, Kevin authors ebooks and infographics on a wide variety of intelligent information management and digital transformation topics. He's the producer and host of AIIM On Air podcast, which was just named one of the 10 best business process management podcasts you should listen to. And also joining us from Kofax, we have Tyler Suss, and Tyler is the product marketing director for their intelligent automation. And so right now, I'm going to turn things over to Kevin Crane to begin our chat today. Kevin?
Hi, Teresa. Thank you so much. It's my pleasure to be here again with AIIM for another webinar event. I think we're here to talk about some really important topics. And so it couldn't have come at a better time, because I think it's time that we all started thinking about how we can work smarter, because we have to. What I'm getting at is that the COVID-19 rocked our world, and no place has been more disrupted than here in business and in the workplace. And we could talk about all the bad things or maybe the scary things that are about that, but I'd rather look almost more at the opportunity. And COVID-19 has made what we considered impossible or perhaps impractical suddenly possible and suddenly required. Like only a couple of months ago, who would have thought that, what is it I saw the other day, 89, 90% of the workforce is now working from home? So who would have thought that was even possible? And who would have thought that companies could actually refit and retool and rework how they work in response to that? And survive, I guess. It was a survival instinct, right? But things like video conferencing and file sharing and cloud computing, information governance and data security, these are all facets of information management that we've been talking about as possibilities, but now they're not possibilities, they're requirements. So it's time to start thinking about how we can work smarter. And it's really like the future of digital transformation is now today, right? It's become a reality today. So organizations are rethinking the way that they do business in some really fundamental ways. They're rethinking their workflows and rethinking business models. They're rethinking, their employees, how many we're going to have, where they're going to be, the infrastructure. They're rethinking about all the ways that they need to operate to survive, and not only survive, but compete in the future, right? In fact, digital transformation is now essential not only to survive today, but it's essential to compete in a post-pandemic marketplace, which we're starting to see happen and open up now. And that's what we're here to talk about today, some techniques and proven practices to save time and build efficiency and be more agile, ways that we can use information management and intelligent automation to become the organizations that we need to be today, and certainly need to be post-COVID, and that we really need to be in the 21st century. It's not enough. It's just not enough to continue to go onward with what I might look at in many ways as a 20th century mindset and approach, 20th century tools. It's the 21st century. Here we are, and it's time to really start making a difference. And I think the way that we do that is to make a difference in where it counts, building upon capabilities that workers really need to get their work done. And that has become in even brighter focus now as we have been kind of retooling and working in a virtual environment, new ways of working. And it's a great way to focus where it counts. It's like the 80-20 rule, you know what I mean? The 80% of the opportunity is captured or found by focusing on 20% of the scope. And I think if you focus in on those core capabilities that really drive the performance of the organization, that's what I think about as in terms of working smarter and really putting intelligence into intelligent information management. I was observing even prior to COVID, a shift in the mindset of AIM members and organizations as I spoke with them for the podcast and doing our research here at AIM, a shift away from a traditional sort of scan and store and save and protect mindset to one that is more strategic and not just tactical in scope, looking for ways to leverage information and technologies to improve the performance of the organization. In fact, according to just recent AIM research, just prior to COVID, nearly 60% of organizations are trying to move up that value chain. And now I would say that it's probably more likely closer to 100%. One reason for that is that on average, organizations anticipate that the amount of information coming into their organizations that they have to manage will grow by as much as 5.5 times, or 4.5 times, 5 times in the next 2 years. And about 60% of that information is unstructured. So putting more intelligence into intelligent information management is essential and a challenge, and has been a challenge and will be a challenge now moving forward. In fact, prior to COVID, digitizing, automating, integrating processes were at the top of the list of challenges for about 50%, almost 50% of the organizations that we surveyed. So, all right, Kevin, how do you do that? I think, number one, it's time to end the paper war. I was shocked to find just recently in some of my research here for AIM that despite digitization, a great deal of business still gets done with paper, at the speed of paper, if you will, which is a term that is used, but I think a good metaphor, at the speed of paper. And it's even in the biggest and most technologically advanced organizations, paper still continues to crop up. And not just in an ad hoc way, like printing copies or printing an email or something and then scanning it to get it digitized, but also in really fundamental activities that every business has that really drive the performance of the organization. For example, I was surprised to find that over 80% of firms still use paper checks to pay their suppliers. Over 70% of invoices still arrive in postal mail. And over 40% are delivered using a fax machine. So that was a shocking thing to find. And so I think the first step is to really stop and put an end to what has been an endless war on paper, because we can't afford to do it anymore. We're looking at a post-pandemic business world, and organizations that work at the speed of paper are going to be non-competitive, in my view, and increasingly irrelevant. It's just not going to be adequate to keep up in terms of the kinds of process agility and business intelligence, superior service, customer experience, all those things that are really hallmarks of digitally transformed organizations. And those will be the ones that will be positioned to compete in a post-pandemic marketplace. So I think it's time to really step back and take a good opportunity now with COVID to rethink a lot of the ways that we do business, move our mindsets away from a traditional scan and store and protect sort of notion of information governance, and look more deeply and more widely at how information management, digitization, automation, is that a word? Automation, can make a real difference, where it counts most in the performance of the organization. And that way we make every worker count, whether they're remote or working, on site or whatever they're doing. Every worker, every human worker then counts, doing more high value activities. And we take the opportunity to lean in to the changes that are afoot and not necessarily look at a post-pandemic market business environment as a fearful one, but one that we might lean into as a great new normal that might be our indeed competitive advantage. So with that, I'd like to bring with us on board Tyler Suss, Product Marketing Manager, Intelligent Automation at Kofax, to explore these ideas a little bit more in detail. Tyler, welcome to the event today. Thank you for being with us. Now, as I mentioned, working at the speed of paper, that's going to be an increasing challenge for organizations moving forward. How do you feel companies across different industries are grappling with the impact of coronavirus?
Yeah, Kevin, thanks for having me. Happy to be on the podcast today and agree with many of the points that you just brought up. Right, it's been over 3 months since the coronavirus has hit global organizations, and many, if not all of us, right, we're scrambling to really brace for more long-term disruptions to our regular business operations. And really, what we've seen, some industries being at the forefront of this crisis more than others. And even at this time, the operational situation is still changing. But really, due to the uncertainty that this pandemic has caused, right, many organizations, we face a slowdown, and we're struggling with workforce capacity, and some of that is created through job losses, right? And I'm a big data guy. I make strategic decisions based on data. Many of us on here do that. And Gartner's recently come out with an updated IT spend report that is projecting how many of these industries will spend their budgets over the next 12, 18 months. We're seeing banking, manufacturing, government really spending the bulk of dollars in replacing capacity gaps or accelerating digital transformation with automation, cloud, and mobile solutions. And there's an interesting research that just went out from the National Bureau of Economic Research. And what they found concluded 88% of routine job loss during an economic recovery is filled with automation and technology. And what that means is, so out of the 33 million jobs lost over the past few months, unfortunately, many of those jobs, they're not coming back, right? But the capacity will come back, and that's through technology. So when you look deeper into that data, the jobs that are defined as either non-routine cognitive or non-routine manual remain largely unaffected. But routine job loss is really concentrated during this economic downturn. And this makes sense with the response that we're seeing to backfill capacity with automation and technology. So we're essentially building digital muscle, both as organizations with remote workforces and as consumers shopping online. And we won't lose this digital muscle, right? This won't be the last crisis that we see in our lifetimes. And of course, there's the uncertainty of this thing coming back in 6 months, and we'll need to respond accordingly. But for most organizations, coming out of this situation as a leader or even just surviving it will be due to their investments in becoming a digital business, creating frictionless, germ-reducing experiences, and having on-demand capacity to support business continuity.
Yeah, all of a sudden, the impossible is now possible and required, right? So tell me more then. So the answer. So how do I do that? And you talk about intelligent automation, thinking beyond simply scanning paper or maybe capturing email as digital transformation. Tell me more. What do you mean by that?
Yeah, well, I think automation, as we've all been undergoing our digital transformation journeys for some time now, automation is not new, right? We've made investments in automation, specifically around task-based automation, to really cut down on some of the manual effort and time associated with those tasks. So, again, we're seeing a lot of paper still involved in business processes today. There's certainly a lot still coming into the mailroom that just isn't being processed. So being able to apply automation, being able to apply AI to support and process data, unstructured formats, and even physical formats like paper, apply understanding and structure to that is very critical to just maintain business continuity and business process.
All right.
And we look at, sorry.
Yeah, go ahead. I'm sorry. Interrupt. Go ahead, Tyler.
No, I was just going to speak to this slide here as well, but if you have another question, go ahead.
No, I was just thinking, it's imperative really that we take a fresh look at how we operate. So tell me more about how intelligent automation helps me do that.
Yeah, absolutely. And just backing up a bit here, when we talk about digital transformation, what does that really mean? What am I expecting as a business outcome of these investments? Organizations, whether you're an incumbent leader or you're attempting to be the next digital disruptor, Uber, Airbnb, you see digital transformation as more than just being able to scan paper and capture email. Right? It's about creating efficiency in the organization, doing more with less. It's about creating a customer experience that is superior to your competitors, and it's also about being able to support and govern your technology investments as they continue to change, right? And some of the data that you see here, right? I mean, these are dynamics that are shaping how we look at digital transformation. Paper wasn't, efficient in 2019, and it certainly isn't today. It's actually the opposite. It's stopping us from getting work done, right? Folks are not able to get their jobs done. So being able to take things that are coming in through digital channels and physical is very critical. We're also seeing the emergence and the importance of low code. Citizen developers outnumbering professional developers 4x by 2023. This approach taps into the developers of the future and gives them the ability to build quickly and agile and empower the business to really deploy automation as they need it. So this is really about bridging the gap between IT and the business, something we've been trying to do for years, and bring together folks that provide input into what that automation should look like, as well as the professional developers, building out that automation. And you can go down the list here. Gartner's hyperautomation tech trend, number one tech trend of the year was hyperautomation, and they came out and said, hey, you need these several capabilities in order to be successful on your automation journey, right? And those capabilities were things like rules and decision making, right? How do I route this to the right service rep in this geography with these skills? Are they able to deal with this type of customer ticket? As well as RPA, being able to help us do things we weren't able to do before, taking out a lot of that manual work in these processes that we're looking to automate. Applying, artificial intelligence and machine learning, data, document intelligence through natural language processing. These are things that are helping us understand this big volume of unstructured data that's coming in, especially now with COVID, and using even computer vision to identify things in the physical world. These are directly applicable to broader digital transformation efforts. So, over the past decade, there's been a lot of new technology we've been talking about, but now the conversation has really shifted to how do I apply these technologies to further augment my workforce, create sustainable state of agility, fill capacity with digital workers, and of course, be able to govern all of these automations effectively at scale.
All right. Can you give me some specific examples about how intelligent automation can be applied, especially to some of our new normal challenges in areas like customer experience, process, teamwork? What are some good examples of what you mean?
Yeah, absolutely. I like getting very specific. So I think starting at high level, right, there's a 3-phase response cycle that Gartner put out that I really see customers and organizations aligning to. One started out, right, how can we best respond to this thing, improve communication to our customers, partners? What is our mitigation plan going to be, right? And then we entered stage 2 where we realized, look, there's a new normal that's going to be here for a long time. We have to be agile, and we have to respond if we want to survive, and we need to define what our new normal is going to be. We re-examine our budgets. Sometimes we see a reduction in workforce. There's impact across the business, and how do you keep that business running with fewer resources, right? They're how to engage customers digitally with speed, things like that. And then we enter the final stage, which I believe we'll be coming into here hopefully soon, right, called winning in the churn. These are the organizations that responded with agility. They formed strategic mitigation plans. They executed. They overcame the same challenge that we have all faced, but they did so through innovation and even operating sometimes in a new business model. So, today, again, we see a great deal of automation already in place, but we're seeing a bigger focus on digitizing information, especially important for our remote workforces, right? And customers continue automation of front-end activities and back-office tasks like fulfillment, verification, invoice processing, and onboarding. But now we're driving towards applying intelligent automation to end-to-end processes as thoroughly as we can, right? So again, when you tie that back to the workforce capacity issue and what we need to fill here, it really is looking at how can we really automate more of these processes and rely less on human intervention in those. Digital transformation of the old, it was about building a great-looking mobile app or adding a chatbot to your website, and those all sounded and looked really cool. But then we realized, this isn't exactly the digital transformation we wanted. There's still thousands of processes behind the scenes that are manual and have impact on your digital transformation and customer experience. So now organizations are focused on how to automate quicker, how to empower the business users to apply automation to their ideas and challenges, and do this very thoroughly as possible. Some specific examples, again, with what we're seeing here, our customers across industries are using intelligent automation from healthcare, where they're onboarding COVID-19 patients, they're extracting data, routing that data very quickly for hospital admissions. In banking, we're proud to be partnering with several large institutions to process the Paycheck Protection Program, process loan requests, and disperse that funding to businesses to retain their employees and keep their businesses open. Again, it goes across industry. We see also the need to fill and augment remote call centers. We've had customers come to us. They had legit concerns around their teams getting sick and wiping out their workforce. So looking to automate calls, web form submissions, and make sure they're routed to the right backup team for processing in case of a disaster. I think we're going to redefine what disaster recovery means coming out of this.
Yeah, really looking at the core processes that make the organization, work every day, the performance of the organization. And COVID has really brought a new light to, what those are. And I liked what you said about end to end as well, so that with an end to end sort of mindset, you don't overlook those pockets of areas that aren't, that aren't transformed, that are holding you back. But now my question is, how do I do it? What are some best practices for getting started, and what should I look for in terms of the results? Where do I begin?
Yeah, absolutely. So, really suggest from what we've seen, over the past, 24 months even, there's a lot of buyer remorse on just, putting in technology solutions and seeing if they'd work, right? So now organizations are getting much more strategic in terms of their digital transformation during their automation journey, where before there were many roadblocks and challenges. We'll get into that later. But starting out, I recommend formulating an automation pipeline with data. The long-standing really challenge with scale has been uncovering enough opportunities for automation, having the analytics to uncover automations and expose those, implement enough of them to justify continued investments in automations. So this is where you start with process discovery and task mining, record the amount of steps, systems, and workers involved in a business process, create visualization of that business process and where automation can come in and create better efficiency. And then you start to enter the build phase, and this is where you bring together all of your automation capabilities from RPA, BPM, process orchestration, AI. And the shift in approach here has been traditionally having IT stand up and build all these automations. But where we're headed today with low-code capabilities is really empowering business users to really build and deploy basic automation using reusable components and code that IT and the professional developers have already created. So we're effectively able to run automation on an ad hoc basis, implement faster, and tackle that backlog of automation pipeline. And finally, moving into digital worker data and analytics, this is an area of continuous optimization that started out pretty quietly, but really the value here is being able to have insights into your entire automation environment, how effective your processes are, and getting visibility into that. And when you start to scale your digital workforce from, say, 50 to 100 or even thousands of digital workers, you need to govern, secure, and have visibility right into the systems that they are working with. In the event that there's a system upgrade or change, you can remediate and fix any anticipated downtime that's critical to your business processes as well.
Okay, so we've been talking a lot about some really cool opportunities, but there are risks involved as well, and also some roadblocks to consider. Tell me more. What are the risks and roadblocks that we should look to avoid?
Yeah, absolutely. And I think this is always a great area of focus, right? It's not all pie in the sky. Organizations need to know, what are some of the risks or roadblocks I may run into here. So, we recently released our 2020 Intelligent Automation Benchmark Study. And as we approach this research, right, we talked to a lot of folks. We went deep across North America, Europe, and Asia Pacific. And there's a big geographic spread, across company revenues, size of organizations, as well as industry-wide. We wanted to go as wide as possible because automation, especially now, is critical to all these businesses, right? And in the findings here, that I pulled on the screen, at a high level, we asked folks, what's your approach to purchasing automation technology? And 44% have a best-of-breed approach of point solutions from different vendors, right? So they pick one or more platforms, RPA, analytics, and they haven't integrated them together, and essentially they aren't able to address end-to-end process automation. So out of that 44% that use the best-of-breed approach, only 29% of those responders who had bought all this great stuff, right, had successfully integrated them together. And what the issue is with this best-of-breed point solution strategy, and why so many folks experiencing challenges with this, it comes at a high cost, right? And those costs are not just financial, but also what we call technical debt. Think about it. So you have all these point solutions, and now you have to build or find resources to build the integration. And once that's done, you now have to own it going forward. You have to maintain it, and it really becomes a problem when you have to do something new and you need to use different tools to add to the mix there. So it results in a delay in business outcome, integration issues happen, technologies change. We hear about acquisitions occurring every week. And on top of this technical debt you've accumulated, you also have a pile of tasks and backlog of automation requests, which hurts your ability to be agile, forward-thinking, and we've seen how critical those attributes are during the COVID situation. So it's really about having the agility to move forward and serve your customers, patients, and survive.
Technical debt. I like that. That's an interesting concept. Now, Tyler, as you were talking, I was hearkening back to, I worked for an executive vice president for a number of years. He was sort of a mentor, but I'll tell you why he was a mentor, because he was a pain in the ass. And excuse me, can I say that? He was hard to work with, but he would always say, what's in it for me? And I like that benchmark. He says, okay, these are great ideas and concepts, but organizationally, what are some of the tangible benefits of using this approach?
Yeah, it's a great question, right? Why go through all this effort? What are the benefits, right? Well, with a more integrated intelligent automation platform approach, it better supports the needs of the modern enterprise, right? So when we ask which of the following do you prefer, there's obviously a huge preference for technologies to be well integrated from a single platform. And in the IA landscape, it's evident that you'll have multiple technologies, right, to really try and achieve that true end-to-end process automation, and they must work together. So I think, everyone listening to this podcast today can agree that paper is not a productive way to work. Passing things through email is just not productive anymore. With an integrated platform, you can get to these things more efficiently, enable your remote workforce to be more productive. You want these technologies to work together seamlessly, right? You want a consistent experience for both your customers and employees. So it's about driving business outcomes and not spending cycles and time in IT architecture and integrations, right? So really being able to, apply automation as needed, spend less time in the IT and development and more time focused on business outcomes and seeing the results there from efficiency gains and productivity gains as well.
Yeah, these are all things that are essential now today as we start looking at a post-pandemic business world. The future of transformation, digital transformation, is here today. I like the integrated approach. It again, end to end, shows up again here as a key tenet. All right. So with that in mind, it's been great speaking with you today, Tyler. I want to get to some questions and answers, but one last question. In your opinion, what should CIOs and technologists and business leaders be thinking about and strategizing now in order to be prepared for the world post-pandemic?
Yeah, great question. And I know we touched a little bit on this, but to summarize, right, I think these three buckets here are what organizations need to invest in if they want to really come out of this situation and win in the turn, right? It's clear that everyone's automation roadmap has shifted gears. Spending for projects, that's going to stall for a few quarters here as we come out of a recession. But after the pause, I think in this pandemic, we'll see rapid acceleration of digital transformation and of intelligent automation due to the investments that we've made, over the course of the next 12 months here. And, the pandemic has already accelerated digital transformation. It's reinvented the way we define and look at digital transformation. And those that invest in, these more platform type approaches will come out of this being able to solve business problems faster, scale innovation across internal and external experiences, and just reach greater efficiencies across the business.
All right. Well, how can Kofax help?
Yeah, so it's always interesting. If you look 2 years ago, if you asked someone about Kofax, they wouldn't think digital transformation the way we discussed it today, right? I mean, the market saw Kofax as primarily the capture-centric company because we've been the number one leader there in that market for so long. But often we were overlooked for our other great technology stack. And when we unveiled the intelligent automation platform as this integrated platform for not just capture, but RPA, BPM, advanced analytics, AI, and mobile communications, the market and analyst community really took notice, right? I mean, we've become a leader in the IA space, one of the only that provides this integrated platform approach. We've been recognized by Gartner and Everest and others as leaders in this space. And we're working with some really innovative companies, doing some really cool things that haven't been done before. So it's a new age for Kofax, as it is for really all organizations right now. But it's a very interesting time.
And how can our listeners find out more? What's our next step?
Yeah, right. I mean, when you look under the hood of the Kofax Intelligent Automation platform and what everything we talked about today, for organizations, setting aside some of these products and technologies, it's really about these capabilities that get customers going down their digital transformation path faster, right? Being the undisputed leader in intelligent document processing, providing out-of-the-box AI skills, enabling business users with low-code tools, and simplifying integration. This is all meeting the modern enterprise expectations and doing this again from one single vendor platform.
All right, very good. That is Tyler Suss, Product Marketing Manager, Intelligent Automation with Kofax. I'd like to thank Tyler for being with us today. We want to get to some questions. But what are some next steps from the AIM point of view? Well, certainly look to AIM as a resource for your research and your learning. Events like this are invaluable, I feel, and unique in the marketplace. You can also find out more at aim.org/research. Lots of ebooks and white papers and training courses at aim.org/training. And talk with your suppliers and service providers like Kofax. They're the experts in our field in what they do, and a great resource for us as we plan our strategies and tactics. Then specifically pick one thing today that we discussed today and bring it back to your organization to improve your information management processes and practices. I think there have been a number of things here that could be useful for that. Intelligent automation management begins with you, so take that next step. With that, I'd like to turn it back over to Teresa Rezic for some questions. Teresa?
Thank you, Kevin. And we've been listening to Kevin Crane and Tyler Suss. Let me jump back one more slide here. And just feel free to keep dropping your questions into the Q&A feature. And Tyler, I want to open with the first question, and it's actually part of a conversation that I'm seeing over in the group chat area as well. Someone made the comment when you started talking about with the citizen developer and app makers, the types of technology that allow companies to create and implement their own apps to help improve their processes. But with the importance of maintaining governance around the building of those apps and how that information still connects in. And just wanted you to touch on just a little bit about, what you're seeing and how your customers are dealing with balancing the governance issues around all of these tools that are at their disposal.
Yeah, absolutely. It's a great point. I think it ties into the conversation of the integrated platform approach, right? So having the visibility and the governance controls to effectively manage and measure automation across the business, right? We're giving, the business is asking, and you're seeing the trend with citizen developers, they're asking for more accessibility and more tools to deploy automation, right? Which is great for IT in some ways. And obviously they still want to maintain, manage, and control that, right? So when you have a mix of point solutions and you try to do that, you can run into issues, where you don't have that type of visibility. You don't have that type of control, right? So there's risk there. But from a more platform integrated approach, you can control that, right? And reuse components that your professional developers are building out, as well as reuse code. So there's a number of benefits to that methodology.
Yeah, that's definitely an argument for an integrated platform approach, because you have, less cracks for those things to fall through.
Yep.
Tyler, wouldn't automation actually work to bolster security and data protection? Because it is in that sort of automated and digital and traceable, trackable, audible environment?
It's a fantastic question. And I think when you look kind of behind the scenes, what, maybe some are not so aware of, right, are, these technologies do have fundamental security components and capabilities, right? So when you look at, Kofax RPA, for example, enterprise credentials and security and governance controls, it's much more secure than having those types of really accessibilities fall into the wrong hands, or to constantly update and maintain passwords and credentials across systems. That comes out of the box with modern automation technology and solutions. So there is improved security for digital workers and less risk in some cases.
Yeah.
Tyler, I do have a question here. Someone's just asking, how can they reach out to the Kofax team, reach out to you specifically? I know all of the questions that are coming in we'll send over to you for you and your team to get back to them, but just what are some ways that people can reach out to Kofax for some help?
Yeah, absolutely. Happy to take any additional questions offline. You can connect with me on LinkedIn, or happy to provide my email address to all host this webinar as well. But there's a number of ways that we're working with organizations, again, that are trying to get started on this journey, right? And if that's just an ideation session of what's possible, what we're seeing in the market, or if organizations are ready to get started, right, in terms of POCs and looking at how they can actually apply automation to a specific use case. So, we're working with companies across that maturity spectrum of, being able to, kind of keep the lights on with automation, to more innovative use cases as well. So, happy to discuss further with all on this session.
And also in the resources area, that's the little box to the right of the slides, that in addition to the link to that survey paper that Tyler had mentioned and had quoted earlier in the talk, the link to that paper is there, but also a link over to Kofax's intelligent automation, a page on their website that lists a lot of details and information about what they're doing specifically around this area. So just some other resources for you all to reach out to right now. But it's one of those things that we're getting close to our towards the end of our webinar time. And just want to mention to everybody that, as you probably know, AIIM offers a wide variety of self-paced online classes on a variety of different topics. One of our more popular ones is our one on business process management, and it is on digitizing core business processes. So if you go to aim.org/BPM, you can find information about this specific program. But there's some other really good training opportunities that AIIM offers, like our foundations of intelligent information management, and also things like modern records management and governance. There's a number of different programs over there. So either go to aim.org/BPM or aim.org/training, and you can just see all of the different options that we have available to you with our online programs. And since we are getting towards the end of our webinar time, just want to mention that we have recorded the webinar. We'll send a link out to everybody after the event so that you can come back and listen to it again, invite your colleagues to listen to this. I know I was just really, this talk today really held my interest, and I learned a lot personally from listening to this today. So I encourage you to come back and listen to it again. Check out the resources like I just mentioned. Please take the feedback survey. I greatly welcome hearing what you have to say. Very much want to thank our underwriter, Kofax. Without the support from our solution providers, AIIM wouldn't be able to bring you these free educational programs like our webinars. And so thank you, Kofax, for sponsoring this. But as we bring this webinar to a close, I do want to leave everyone with our speakers' closing thoughts or key takeaways. So let me start first with Tyler Suss from Kofax. Your closing thoughts today.
Hey, thanks, Teresa, and again, appreciate everyone's time on today's session. Obviously we are still in a situation that's uncertain, and in some verticals we've seen budgets change, but also refocus on how to fill some of these challenges, whether it be workforce capacity, replacing some of that, or accelerating digital transformation to meet expectations, right? So I think there will be positives that come out of this. It's been a catalyst for innovation, and those positive changes are going to be with us for a long time.
And Kevin Crane from AIIM, your thoughts today.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, I agree with Tyler, and want to thank Tyler for being with us today. I think now's a good opportunity to really lean into the implications of COVID on business. It won't be easy or fun in many cases, but there will be great opportunity to lean in. I think now's the time. We've seen digital transformation become reality today, and I think that we need to really lean into that and take this opportunity as information management professionals to think beyond sort of the save and store and protect mindset of information governance to new paradigm, really, where we look at how we can leverage the technologies and information in ways that really rock the world and make a difference in the way that our organizations perform. So I think that's been great to hear Tyler put some practical jackets on that. And one last thing, Teresa, I'd like to just mention, if you're interested, the AIM on Air podcast is another great resource for interviews like this at aim.org/podcast.
Thanks, Kevin. And thank you, everyone, for your time today. For AIM, this is Teresa Resick, and we will see you with our next event. And have a great afternoon.